Okay, our
What's
first
wrong with
one.
Sean?
Been talking a lot about Big Ten championships this year, but who do you think has a really good shot next year to win a Big Ten championship?
For Nebraska teams.
Yes.
Softball, I'm going to throw up there. And Abby, they have to be getting somebody big in the transfer portal the way they've been kind of teasing Twitter.
Yes, yeah. Rhonda Revell's been tweeting out a lot of suspicious, just it's a great day to be a Husker tweets and stuff like that. So we'll see. But somebody that I definitely turned on their post notifications today was Ruby Malin, and she was Washington's ace pitcher. She is from Omaha. I think she's gonna be a sophomore, but Nebraska didn't recruit her when she was in Omaha, but she's in the portal. So I think that's definitely somebody to watch because Nebraska, they've lost their 2 senior pitchers from this season. So then they just have Jordy and a couple of freshmen returning. So adding a pitcher or 2 from the portal would be great for them.
Jordy and Ruby. I like that. Ruby is the last name again?
Malin.
Malin, okay.
And Jordan.
Jordan.
It's Jordan.
Got it.
Steve. I think the track teams are again in great position.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think wrestling will be top 3 or 4.
Wrestling. The problem with wrestling is they got Penn State ahead of them in Iowa. Right. It's really hard to win the Big Ten with Penn State and Iowa in the same conference.
Imagine a football recruiting model where it's like the 5-star player at every position. Penn State and Iowa literally probably get the 1 or 2 at almost every position in recruiting.
Yeah, a lot of the time.
And everybody else is fighting for, lower guys. But NIL and other things have equalized wrestling. We saw Michigan win a national title.
Nebraska is fortunate. They're strong. They are strong. Mark Manning, I was going to say Nebraska is very fortunate to have Mark Manning. They are. They're strong. They're never really not strong. It's just Penn State and Iowa is right there all the time.
But yeah, I'll be interested if soccer can rebound again and have another big year. And baseball should be in good shape.
I think so.
I mean, baseball might be picked. I don't know what they lose, but they're going to be picked top 2 or 3 in the Big Ten.
Yeah, you just don't know. I don't know. You get a lot of roster turnover in this day and age. I don't know if you've noticed that. But
USC joins the league, UCLA, Oregon.
This is going to get harder. It's going to get harder. Boy, we didn't mention that Omaha now was awarded that Big Ten baseball tournament through 2027. Think about that tournament now with those teams, those West Coast teams.
They'll have to up the field number. I mean, right now the Big Ten has 13 teams, 8 make it. I have to think that,
you think
with
they will?
17 teams, you got to let more than 8 in.
What would you go to, Sean?
10 or 12.
12, maybe.
I just think
12 makes sense to me. Although, how's it logistically then? I mean, you're always dealing with rainouts.
They did a great job this year because they added an extra day.
Right. Would you have to add another extra day?
Tuesday. They started Tuesday, not Wednesday. And then they had
Did you start on a Monday?
No, I don't think you could because your teams are playing Saturday.
Yeah,
it's hard. You got to give them a travel day Monday. Yeah. So, all right.
Well, first of all, I have to say that I think that volleyball has a good shot of winning the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, it's funny, Abby.
Buried the lead there, Abby Barmore.
You know what, Abby? It's kind of funny. It almost goes without saying, right? Right?
Yeah.
You said it, and I appreciate it. But John has built such a strong program that's like, oh yeah, they'll be in contention.
Nebraska basketball has a better than average chance to make the NCAA tournament, the men's team.
A lot of new faces, though, Sean. Got to see how they come together. A lot of new faces.
Next question.
Okay, next one. We already touched on this a little bit, but where does Nebraska baseball rank with the new teams coming into the Big Ten?
Hard to say.
It's hard to say because USC has been a national power. When you look at their history of a program.
We look at their history.
The Rob Dado era.
Yeah, you were just a young little South Omaha guy running around when Rod Dado was, or was that even before Sean?
Before my time.
Yeah, it was before Sean.
My dad went to the famous Minnesota USC game where Dave Winfield pitched for Minnesota, and USC came back. Was it like an 8-run deficit in the 9th inning and beat Minnesota?
Yeah, Dado put together
a dynasty.
Dynasty. That's the word I was looking for. But yeah, these teams coming in, I don't know, Abby. They'll be good.
Oregon got kind of good at baseball because they bought it. They started a team from scratch. They didn't have a team. Then Oregon State started winning national titles, and Phil Knight's like, let's get a baseball team. And he hired away the old Cal State Fullerton coach back then to start their baseball program. The guy that won national titles at Cal State Fullerton. So they've got money and resources. UCLA is going to have players. They will. Now, Washington, they've been hit and miss. I mean, they've had good players over the years, like Tim Lisk came through there.
Yeah, I want to say again, Nebraska made a big impression on me. A little better. I hate to do this on camera, but I didn't follow them that closely this year. So I was struck by they're good. Will's done a good job putting together that roster. It's a good roster. The pitching staff's strong. They have one of the best pitching coaches in the country. And see, it's one thing to say that, Sean, but then look at it. Look what they did. Second in the nation in fewest walks per game. Led the Big Ten in ERA easily. It paid off. And maybe, Sean, this Big Ten tournament title is sort of the impetus to Nebraska baseball pushing a little bit farther, although we have to acknowledge something that I think it was you. I talked to a lot of people over the course of a week, and I can't remember everybody, but I think it was you who said it is hard to get the players Nebraska used to get when they were in the Big 12 now get the same type of player in the Big 10. It's harder. It's harder to get Tony Watson here. It's harder to get a lot of the players from the South to come up and play in the Big 10. While you're in the Big 12, it was easier.
Yeah, there's kids in Nebraska this year going to LSU and Arkansas.
It happens a lot. It happens a lot. A lot of great Nebraska players, they leave.
Lincoln East's catcher is going to Michigan.
Right.
He's got another year left.
Well, that's Big 10, but
his brother is on the current Husker team, Wordley.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting just with that, and will those West Coast teams up the profile?
Yeah, good point.
And will the Big 12 take a step back in baseball when you lose Texas and Oklahoma?
Yeah, they might.
Will they lose a little prestige? They're going to lose money. We know that. I mean,
they might. That's a good point too. That could actually, in a roundabout way, help the Big Ten. Now, the Big Ten is a pretty good baseball conference. I mean, I watch those teams. They're all right.
Here's the deal: Nebraska, if they just beat South Dakota State, Creighton, and UNO, I don't know if they lost UNO this year, but they can't lose those games.
Those midweek games.
Those 5 losses that they pull in these midweeks. That's why they're not hosting a regional.
Right.
If they win those games, they're hosting a regional.
Like they should. Yeah.
That's how close, and Will Bolt knows it. The line to hosting is that thin, and Nebraska's right there. They're right there.
They are. They're right. They look like a team capable of hosting. Go ahead, Amber.
All right, final question.
Okay, last one. What is your favorite Nebraska baseball postseason memory?
Oh, Sean, come on.
There's several. I mean,
your friend's Justin Seeley.
Well, yeah, his home run was a big one, but I still go back to those first College World Series games they played in, and just watching Nebraska. The president was there. I mean, it was
Khomeini on the mound.
Khomeini on the mound.
Let's say Khomeini. I think it would be Khomeini.
President George W. Bush
standing right behind you
in the ballpark.
Yeah, in the press box.
And I mean, that was just unbelievable time in our country. I mean, right after 9/11, and just the president comes to the College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska, throws out the pitch before the first Husker game. And he walks through the press box, and I was sitting there, and he came up and shook my hand.
Yeah, he shook a lot of people's hands. I think, he shook my hand too. It was cool. George Bush in the press box was cool. You know what? Baseball guy, and he warmed up
He threw a great pitch.
Yeah, well, he warmed up in the under the stands in the bullpen area for that. So yeah, that's what I remember. I remember the first game, the first CWS game. The first CWS appearance stands out in my mind because the excitement in this state was incredible. I wish Abby, it was incredible back then.
It was a Friday afternoon game.
And when they would have regionals and super regionals in Lincoln, those are some of the best memories I have as a sports writer. Those regionals and super regionals that Nebraska played host to.
Now, somebody told me that when they played Miami in the Supers.
Yeah,
here,
I remember.
And they capped the tickets, but they really didn't. They just sold as many GAs as they could. Oh, and they had to announce it at one number, whatever that number was. Might have been 8,000 or 9,000, but I think there was like 14,000 people.
It was incredible. The excitement. It's hard to even describe. What I remember about that is I think I picked Miami to win, and Jabba Chamberlain's dad just creamed me. I mean, he wouldn't let me. He was just I don't know, relentless coming after me in the stands.
And it was a good Miami team.
It was a fascinating series. It was, and Nebraska was loaded. They were loaded. Nebraska was loaded. And I guess we just thought those times would always continue. And it's hard.
Buck Belzer too, when they won the, when they beat Rice.
Absolutely. That was Dave Van Horn. That was when it was clear that Van Horn was about to break through, and then he broke through. Yeah. They were at Buck Belzer when they broke through. I mean, that's what people forget that. They weren't at Haymarket.
It was a dump.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was.
I'd like to disagree with you and play that card, but I can't. It was a dump.
I mean, it was just like a high school venue.
Basically.
And I remember there was just like a big pile of dirt in the outfield. You remember that? And,
yeah, I do.
And these witty Husker fans renamed it Mount Buck. And there would be guys that sat on this giant dirt mound behind the outfield with the flag. It said like Mount Buck.
What I remember about it is, what everybody remembers about it is they had that artificial turf infield with a grass outfield. So, yeah, I mean, it was weird right off the bat. Artificial turf infield, grass outfield. The grass outfield, if you walked on it, you were like, okay, they practice football out there sometimes. So it was terrible shape. I mean, it was horrifying. I mean, so yeah, it was quite.
And to host a regional, it was a chore. I remember Butch Hugg back then and his team, they had to bring in a bunch of bleachers.
Oh yeah.
Because they had to make the venue adequate to host a regional.
Yeah, and people are going to kill me for this. They're going to say SIP, but SIP, it had charm. No, not really. I don't think it had much charm. God dang, there's some old timers are going to kill me for saying that. They're going to kill me, but it didn't. I would disagree with that. It was just a subpar stadium.
And then went to Haymarket.
Yeah, and then Haymarket was,
at the time of Haymarket being built, it was
about as good as you got. About as good as it got.
So yeah, lots of memories with Nebraska baseball. But when they've got to that point, if they figure out a way to win in Stillwater, Husker baseball will take over the state the next week.
Oh, if they're in a super regional,
if they're in a super regional, it will take it over.
Oh yeah,
and they got a chance.
Oh, I just keep saying they're dangerous because of the pitching. I mean, if you just look at Sears and McConaughey, they give you a shot. Then Jackson Brockett, his emergence remember Jackson Brockett off the travel roster for part of the year. They took Jackson Brockett off the travel roster. Then 3 weeks ago, of course, he had a 9-inning no-hitter, the first in 70 years or so for Nebraska. Will Walsh is going good, but they got the pitching.